Hi everyone, Shreyasi and I will be presenting about the role of mobile phones in our respective PhD research projects. We are both based at King's and are part of the SHEAR SSC. We'll discuss how we use mobile phones in our projects and the opportunities and challenges this created. We will then provide some recommendations on using phones in disaster risk research, as well as some avenues for future research on this topic.
Hi everyone, I'm a third year PhD student working on assessment of multi-hazards using expert elicitation and Bayesian belief network. My field area is in Darjeeling, India.
I'm also a third year PhD student. My research uses assemblage theory to understand the complex interrelationships that lead to the emergence of multi-hazard disaster risk in Kalimpong district. This borders Darjeeling district where Shreyasi and landslide are also studying, but our projects are separate. I spent a total of 6 months in the field doing qualitative research, including interviews, focus groups, and ethnography. Most of my interviews were with affected people affected by landslides at the so-called grassroots level. But I also interviewed key informants such as officials, academics, and NGO workers. My mobile phone was integral to most parts of my field work, from contacting participants, organizing field visits, and recording interviews. I also used my phone's camera for field photography. The geotag function on Google Photos allowed me to map these photos and the landslides I visited once I got home.
So during the course of my PhD, in addition to and similar to what Peter has explained, I have also utilized mobile phone apps to interview people and to prepare questionnaires that can be made accessible to any type of expert. I also aim to develop a mobile compatible serious game, keeping in mind the fact that this is the only device available to most villagers in India and urban people in India. Coming to the opportunities and challenges, we have separated this into 3 parts. The first one is on contacting participants for the research and expanding the research scope. When it comes to contacting the participants, calling them is actually easier in certain countries like India than emailing if you really need a response. Also, this is dependent on the type of participants you plan to involve in your research. Well, including mobile apps does increase the number of responses you receive, but there are certain challenges associated with using mobile phones. There are ethical issues regarding gathering mobile numbers that are not publicly available. Also, during interviewing, if the internet connectivity is poor, keeping a record of the calls becomes an issue, especially in the current times when face-to-face interviews are impossible. Access to several applications by local people is very difficult, and sometimes a lot of people raise eyes when you have asked them to install a new app.
Carrying on opportunities and challenges, my first point relates to accessing mobile data in place of Wi-Fi. The Indian government has recently invested a lot into mobile internet access, meaning access is now widespread and reasonably strong. And not relying on Wi-Fi when in the field is very useful for all the methods mentioned so far. However, challenges were met as an international researcher when trying to access the SIM card and mobile access, but these challenges were overcome with a little help from Indian colleagues. Remaining on these more technical issues, it's clear that modern mobile technology enables you to do a lot of your tech-related field work on one device, which is very handy when visiting remote areas. However, there are the usual challenges of reliability, technical hitches, and battery life. The key point is that you should always have a backup plan. In the next slide, I've got a quick photograph of the map I created using the geotag function on Google Photos. So this allowed me to map all the places I visited by using the GPS data that was taken when I took the photos of landslides. Moving on to further research, we both felt that research should be done on the following. So when planning research using phones, it is important to reflect on how they're used across different contexts, as this has professional and ethical implications. So further research into this would be really useful. Also, further inquiries into how the use of mobile phones changes who can and cannot participate in your research project would be interesting, as we both felt it increased the scope of the types of people who could be involved in our research and made it more inclusive. And finally, I found that mobile phones, particularly WhatsApp, were also very important to local disaster risk management practices in Kalimpong. So there's interesting research to be done into that in Kalimpong and elsewhere.
Well, with regards to some practical recommendations, just as Peter said previously, it is pertinent to keep a backup option to your mobile phone during the field, just in case you end up draining your full battery while using the device as a recorder, camera, GPS tool, etc. Also, with respect to the ethical challenges discussed before, approvals for the same should be taken considering the geographical and professional contexts. Well, there's another point to this. There is a major research gap to be filled in on how mobile phones are used for a successful research project. And hence, we would suggest institutions and organizations to keep in mind the use of mobile phones while designing hazard and disaster risk projects. That's it from our end. Thank you so much. Off to Peter.
Thanks, and do let us know if you have any questions. We'd be happy to take those on the emails or something like that. Thank you very much.